The Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS season, approaches its halfway mark. 6 races down, 7 to go in the pursuit of the championship. And today, the series rolls into Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and Road America. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Marine. It's a pleasure to have your company this morning. Calvin Fish is alongside. We'll have DJ Clark down in the pit lane reporting for us here today. Beautiful weather as ever here in Wisconsin. Getting ready to go qualifying for the pair of 90-minute races on the calendar. And Calvin, as the season hits that hinge point, the championship is starting to come into focus.
It really has. We've had a 9-week break since we last saw some action with these race cars. So lots of time for these teams and drivers to think about the championship charge that they're now put on till the end of the season and the finale at the Indy 8-hour. But what a racetrack. I fell in love with this place, Ryan, when I came here in the mid-'80s. The circuit itself, the town of Elkhart Lake is just a vibe here that is magical.
4 miles, 14 turns, the layout of the track unchanged, but it is a new surface since this series was here 1 year ago. It is fast, but it is treacherous.
It really is. It's a game changer. So all of the notebooks that you used previously, throw those away because this racing surface is very different. It's very smooth. It's got great grip on line. You fall off that line, and then you've got to watch out because it's fast around this place. It's old school, big consequences if you do make that mistake. And so everyone's been on their toes this weekend in practice, but it's qualifying, and all these drivers are going to put it on the line here this morning.
Iconic corners like the Carousel, the Fearsome Kink, Canada Corner. Of course, turn 14 so important as well as it leads up to the front straightaway. And Calvin, you said leave it all on the line, especially here in qualifying. This is a track that commands high commitment and high respect from the drivers.
It does, and previously here at Road America, tire degradation was always a factor. So you were looking at getting that fast lap early in the run before the tires kind of went off their peak. But with this racing surface now, tire deg does not seem to be a factor with these teams, talking to them here this weekend. So you could potentially see a fast lap run a little bit deeper into the run here this morning.
Fans starting to pack this esteemed facility, and down in the pit lane among 17 GT3 cars, we say good morning to DJ Clark.
Well, good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Calvin. As you can hear behind me, the air guns are starting to go off. Racer's Edge in the first pit lane box here. It's going to be a very interesting qualifying session with the new repave, as you said. Lots of grip to be had, but careful not to get offline.
That has been the subject all weekend long, DJ. You're right. You get offline and the grip level drops precipitously, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, especially in the race. A little less so here in qualifying. Everyone should be minding their P's and Q's, should be finding a gap to go for their respective fastest laps. And, we talked, Calvin, about the break. It's been a long while since VIR, but these teams have not been sitting idle. Many of them have done considerable testing. Most of them opting to test here in preparation for this event.
Yeah, and I think depending on when you did that testing, that will have a reflection on terms of how up to speed you are with the track's grip and nature, because it's evolving. We've seen many different championships run here over the last few weeks. So this racetrack and the line is gradually getting a little bit wider. That line that DJ was talking about is getting a little bit bigger, a little bit more scope for these drivers to work with and take a few more chances. But it's still catching drivers out, and particularly on the high-speed sections like through the kink here down the back stretch.
That's MTK Motorsports, their Pro-Class Porsche, Trenton Estep, Seth Lucas. They've been strong in their debut in this championship this year. Here's a look at the DXDT racing team, one of many teams fielding the Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo here in 2023. And if you look at the practice times, at least, that's the package to have.
Yeah, and this car seems to have been the car to beat. I mean, they didn't run fast laps. I don't think they stick it up in the second practice yesterday, but Colin Brown has been super fast there aboard the CrowdStrike Racing entries. You said Mercedes kind of dominate the field here. They've got 7 cars in this 17-car field here. Porsche have 5, a couple of BMWs, and an entry from Ferrari, Acura, and Aston Martin.
Few changes to the lineup since we last saw this championship on the track, and the car at the very front of this train is one of those. With Wright Motorsports all season long, it had been Jan Halen and Charlie Luck running in the Pro-Am class. Charlie dealing with some health issues, electing to step out of the car for the rest of the season, and Wright Motorsports drafting in Madison Snow, and that means this team has been promoted to the Pro rank, so those Pro class battles get a little bit fiercer.
Yeah, and let's not forget what happened at VIR when we had that entry with TR3 suddenly stepping up to the pro ranks and sweeping the weekend with Kenan Cook and Daniel Morad. So I think for Wright Motorsports, putting Madison alongside Jan Halen, they know each other well. Madison has just evolved as a driver tremendously over the last 5 years or so, and is top notch, and he'll have a lot of speed in that Porsche here this weekend.
Speaking of TR3, Ziad Gondor is back alongside Daniel Morad after missing VIR. So that's now a Pro-Am lineup once again, but that team is fielding a second Mercedes here this weekend. Pirelli GT4 America and GT America stalwarts Paul Keebler and John Branham will be sharing that car as an AM class entry, and we expect to see them the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting because they've got a lot of speed and not a lot of entries in our AM class, but they're going to have fun and dipping their toe in the water. It's great to see them move up to GT3 competition.
Pair of cars from Wright Motorsports, two different generations of the Porsche 911 GT3R. It's the new one in the hands of Madison Snow that leads this train. Adam Adelson, who has been one of the breakout performers of the 2023 season in the previous gen car here for Fanatec GT. He's got the new car that he'll be campaigning in GT America, powered by AWS, a little bit later on today as we hop on board, climbing that hill up the front straightaway to begin the first flying lap here for Madison Snow.
And it's a lengthy front stretch here. It's 4,400 feet from the exit of turn 14 to the apex here in turn 1. High speed corner here. You got to watch your track limits there. He's out of bounds there. He may lose that lap. There's some white perpendicular lines there that you're not allowed to go outside. So track limits through turn 1 will definitely be a factor here.
Talk us through a lap around this place here, pal.
Well, this is a fun run down the moraine sweep, as we call it. You're the fans waiting for this crescendo of noise coming down this stretch into the brake zone for turn 5. It's downhill. Tricky brake zone. You really got to try and roll speed through apex here. Don't want to overslow the car. Keep some rolling speed through there and just gradually pick up the throttle nice and early. Tires came out of the tire warmers, so they've got some heat in them immediately, and then Madison now generating extra energy in these Pirelli tires. This is turn 7. That transition to the curbing there is a little bit smoother with the resurfacing, so you can use that a bit more than years past. Turn 8, big brake zone. This is where it's tricky. This is where drivers are getting caught out into the carousel. Big load here. See the steering inputs. Cars moving around on him, even on the racing line. And then suck it up. Here comes the kink. There's a little bit of curb there on entry. And right there is where it's been catching the drivers out on the exit of the kink. Winding back stretch here down through Kettle Bottoms into Canada Corner. This is turn 12. You can see, even though it's been resurfaced, it's still a little bit bumpy there. You can see the oscillation with the tire marks into the brake zone there. Into Billy Mitchell. Fun corner. A blind brow there. Use the exit road to set up. Look at him working the wheel here.
Out of turn 14 and up the front straightaway one more time. Madison Snow followed by his teammate Adam Adelson, and we'll have our first chance to gauge the speed of these cars at speed here in Q1. This qualifying session, by the way, sets the grid for race 1 of the weekend coming up later today. And it is the AMs in the Pro-Am lineups that qualify here in Q1. Kurtz goes P1 here in the early going. Adelson, Snow, Filgaris, and Chandler Hull, the top 5.
Yeah, that BMW with Bimmerworld has shown some pace here this weekend. Oberlin's been near the top of the charts, leading the pro ranks in a couple of practice sessions we had here yesterday. This is our championship leader in the pro ranks. 28 car, RS1, Eric Filgaris behind the wheel. Didn't show a lot of pace here yesterday, but we've seen that with this team this year. They seem to be able to rebound and grind away and find a solution come race time.
3 class poles for Eric Filgaris in 4 qualifying attempts in his GT3 career. The only time he was denied pole was at VIR the last time out, which was categorically the most frustrating weekend for this team this season. They have a 16-point lead in the championship. They've only finished off the podium twice and only failed to win at least once on a weekend. And that was at VIR, where he and Stephen McAleer finished 5th and 3rd.
Yeah, coming off that dominant season in GT4 level last year, and just almost a seamless transition up to the GT3 machinery for the group and the same driver pairing.
impressive team, RS1. Won so much at the single make Porsche level, certainly in GT4 as we saw a year ago, when this same driver pairing blitzed the field en route to the Pirelli GT4 America Silver Class Championship. They won by 61 points last year. Clearly the team to beat. The only question mark this year was how long would it take them to adapt to GT3, to doing the pit stops, the longer races? And the answer was not long at all, because they won in their very first start.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just got some real chemistry there. And Eric Filgueras jumps to the top. I'm not sure that's going to stick as Chandler Hull takes over the top slot there. The 204.033. There you see him getting down to the inside of Seth Lucas there. That's going to cost him time. That really compromised his speed through there, so it's not going to be the ideal start to his next flyer here. Now we're looking at Manny Franco. This Ferrari's been a little bit of a head scratcher here. New Ferrari for this year. Looked decent at the start of the year, Ryan, but they just seem to be struggling to find a solution with pace here. I spoke to Eric Bachelard, who runs this Conquest racing team, said they're coming off a very successful test at Indianapolis, and they showed up here and the balance was completely off. Car was very loose. They worked on that yesterday. Balzan was more content with the car, let's put it that way, in terms of the balance, but the speed was still not there compared to some of the other brands.
But Manny likes this track. He's from the Milwaukee area originally. Put in a purple Sector 1, personal best in Sector 2. He's already got the fifth best time so far in qualifying, so we'll see what he could do. He's got a nice lap going. And Calvin, a track this long, you don't get many chances in these relatively short qualifying sessions.
It eats up that 15 minutes really, really quickly. So and these are long corners. There's a big lap to put together. But man, he's on a flyer here. Should move up the charts a little bit.
Up the hill, the time to beat, 2:04.033. Chandler Hull with the benchmark time. What can Manny Franco do? He goes to P1 with a 2:03.7.
Nice lap there, so he's still done the same amount of laps. It's not like he's got an extra lap on board. He was the last, or one of the last drivers to leave pit lane, so a little bit of a strategy play there by Eric Bachelard and the Conquest Racing Group. But these two Wright Motorsports cars have been sort of tied together here in this quali run so far. Matters of Snow up ahead of Adam Adelson. They currently sit 8th and 5th on the grid respectively. See if they can move up now.
Adelson had a great first sector, but gave a lot of time away in sectors 2 and 3, so no improvement. Still P5 overall, P2 in the Pro-Am ranks. Eric Filgueras at the moment is on a pretty solid lap, just turned in the best middle sector of anyone. And here we look at Samantha Tan, ST Racing, currently 10th quick, but Samantha with some decent pace here on this lap, looking to improve. Neil Verhagen back in the car for the second time for this team this year. He was really impressive at VIR the last time out. Yeah,
they had a really solid weekend, so he's been a great fit for that group, and I'd expect him to keep that seat for the rest of the season as John Edwards moved aside and BMW slotted Verhagen in.
Samantha, no improvement on that lap. In terms of position, it was her best lap of the session at a 2:05.3.
Franco going quicker again, just purple first sector and personal best middle, so he's on another fly here, potentially going to beat his current pole sitting time.
Filgueras did go to the outside of the front row with his solid lap just a few moments ago. Franco already only one of 2 drivers to go sub 2:04 here in Q1. Tracking to go even faster right now, provisionally on the pole by 0.16 of a second. Manny Franco up the hill. Conquest Racing, Ferrari 296 GT3 up to the start-finish line, and he goes quicker still with a 2:03.486.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. He's feeling that they found the sweet spot with that Ferrari. Here comes Bartone, who was really quick here yesterday. Jumps up to the 4 slot. Nice run there for the Real-Time Racing Group with the Bartone brothers. His teammate Adam Christodoulou on debut here at Road America. He had the fastest time in yesterday's second practice session. We'll look for him to do something special in the second quali here this morning.
That would have Bartone on the Pro-Am pole as they run, just ahead of George Kurtz and Adam Adelson. Here comes Chandler Hull, early pace setter. 3rd fastest thus far. It's a great 3rd sector, but had given some time away in the middle of that lap, so still sits 3rd with a 2:03.9.
Let's not forget he was compromised a little bit at the start of that lap, so there's potentially more there, but he definitely lost a little bit in Sector 2 on the previous lap, so if he can regroup here. Time is running out, just under 4 minutes to go. This is what we anticipated. As the fuel load burns off a little bit, these cars potentially going to get quicker and quicker because there's not a lot of tire degradation with this new racing surface. And these cars are not refueled in between the two mini qualifying sessions, so the car's a little bit lighter for the driver number 2 for their run here in a few moments today.
Ashton Harrison all the way down in 12th, comes in second in points alongside co-driver Mario Farnbacher. They swept the weekend in class here last year. This was a crucial point in the season for them in route to the Pro-Am Championship, which they won by a narrow 5 points. This began a streak of 3 consecutive wins for them that put them in a position to fight for the title come the Indy 8 Hour, but they've not found that pace thus far this weekend.
Franco looks like he may be regrouping here. He's not done a stunning Sector 1 or Sector 2. Let's see if he bails or if he's just setting up for a fly now. No, he comes into pit lane, so his task is done. Bartone's on a great lap here, fastest overall middle sector.
Bartone
jumps up to 3rd. He's in the 203 range as well. Just a, what was that, 9 thousandths quicker than Chandler Hull.
Yeah.
Really tight.
And again, good enough for the provisional pole in Pro-Am. Here is Harrison, personal best in Sector 2, but trending the wrong direction relative to the overall pole at this stage. Down at 12th in the bottom of the Pro class. That is a surprise.
It is, and they have track experience on this new surface. Ran here a couple of weeks ago with a different chassis, but similar Acura NSX. She and Mario Farnbacher, I think Racers Edge thought, based on the results here last year, Ryan, that they'd come here and be in really great shape. But as we said, this racetrack is very different this year with the new surface.
205.6, no improvement on her previous best of 205.5.
The big surprise to see Madison Snow down there in 10th spot. A couple of slots behind his teammate Adam Adelson. We talked about that new Porsche struggling to find the pace of the old version, and I think that's why Adam Adelson and Elliott Skier are electing to stick with the old version for now until they find a bit more pace with the new car.
Looking at the CrowdStrike Mercedes of George Kurtz, 3rd in Pro-Am, 7th overall right now.
His best lap is a 204.35, so about 9/10 off the pole position time right now, but this car's looked good all weekend long. They did some testing here, rolled off the truck quick. The problem when you're done testing and you really got a great balance, you're just looking for those other teams to catch up over the course of the practice sessions. You really want to show up and just go race, but that's not the way it works, of course.
It has been a remarkable season, though, for George Kurtz, winning major races around the world, fighting for a championship in the Pro-Am class of Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. He and Colin Brown, this SRO Motorsports team, they were strong last year. It was easily George's best season in GT3 racing, but they've taken it another step forward in 2023.
Yeah, and they're on a roll. Chandler Hull off there. Is that 13, turn 13?
I think so. Just coming up the hill, and Chandler had a great opening sector of that lap too. Let's check George Kurtz. Jumps to P5. Still 2nd in Pro-Am. A little ways off of Anthony Bartone, but solidly in the top 5 overall.
Yeah, he's not far off. He only needs to find another 10 to move up. Let's take a look and see what happened to Chandler Hull. This is turn 13. Just touched that inside curb there and looked like he's running that wide. Just pinched it a little bit, enough to lose the rear end. Not sure he flat spotted any tires. You got to work with your tire allocation, which is 4 sets from qualifying on for the 2 quali sessions and the 2 races. So good thing is it didn't cause a red. So I'm sure he'll just hit pit lane and call it a day.
Checkered flag is out. Anyone still on the flying lap can complete it. As you mentioned, Chandler Hull heads to the pit lane and will do no better than 4th, 3rd in the Pro class, but certainly a position from which he could fight. The 2 TR3 Mercedes following him down the pit lane in those mirror image liveries. That is going to be a challenge for us, Calvin, so bear with us this weekend.
I'll follow your lead.
Okay, at your own peril. Adam Adelson. What can he do?
Decent first sector, but not his personal best, so.
Still pushing.
You can just hear him playing chicken with that throttle there through the carousel, just waiting for the point where he can be fully committed. Lots of road there, still pushing.
8/10 down on Franco's overall pole time. So doesn't need to find a whole lot
Yeah,
to
not
make a
personal
jump.
best in either of the first two sectors, so I think it's going to be a stretch here to see him improve, but you never know.
Now he'll have some sense of how he's tracking. And if it doesn't look promising, he might bail to the pit lane. He elects to stay out.
Must have been close enough.
Yeah.
A predictive lap time on your charts, and wow, what a last lap fly for Kurtz.
George Kurtz on his final lap goes to P2 overall and the Pro-Am pole with the 2:03.7, 0.3 of a second off of Manny Franco, and well clear of Bartone in the second placed car in the Pro-Am class. Great job by George Kurtz.
That was putting it all together.
Purple final sector.
When he's feeling it, when he gets in the zone, George Kurtz can really put it together, and that was an excellent job of just, it's a long lap and you're just working in your mind, how can I perfect each corner, each sector, and he put it together at the end of the day there. That was really nice.
Yeah, he'll be thrilled with that, and this is a car that has been quick all weekend, both of the practice sessions it has featured, and Colin Brown really excited to see what he can do in his qualifying session coming up in just a few moments. Manny Franco, though, the man of the hour, and DJ has found him.
That's right, Ryan. I'm down here with Manny. A great lap there, about 0.3 of a second over your rivals. How is the car feeling out on track?
Car's feeling pretty good. Today's a pretty cool day, so you have an extra little bit of downforce, a little bit of power from the engine, cooler air. The car feels good, though. A bit of understeer, but that's kind of what you want here at Road America here. Staying online is the key, and yeah, that's all I got.
I mean, obviously starting in pole position is going to be a big thing, but with this resurface, just how slippery it is offline, how crucial is it to be starting on pole for race one?
Oh, it's it's really important to start here on pole. You want to try to get that fast lane, that racing line, as quickly as possible here, because here at Road America, they did the repaving, and it's a bit slick offline. You get a lot of understeer, and it throws you off. So pole position's awesome. It's fantastic, and I'm happy to start on it.
Happy to start on it. Your pole sitter for race one.
Amazing to think this is Manny's first full season of GT3 racing, and he has been right there at the pointy end, very nearly won race 2 at Sonoma earlier this year in just his 4th GT3 start.
Yeah, that's really impressive for that group. I mean, I was chatting to them after free practice 1, and there were a lot of concerned looks that they couldn't find the speed, but they definitely turned things around, got a little bit racier in free practice 2 yesterday, and shop up here this morning with a flying lap there for Manny Franco.
The Rova Pole Award to Manny Franco. He and Alessandro Balzan will start race 1 this afternoon from the overall pole position for Conquest Racing. Splitting the top 2 in the pro class, though, George Kurtz with that phenomenal late session flyer to jump to P2. He and Colin Brown on the Rova pole for the Pro-Am class. Then Bartone and Christodoulou, that's going to be a car to keep an eye on. Hull and Oberlin, Lucas and Estep, Smithson and Sellers. That car has been quick in the practice sessions. Brian Sellers might be one to watch here in Q2 in just a few moments. Adelson, Skier, Hardiman, Carroll, Snow, and Halen, the top 10. And, Madison Snow, he's got experience in this championship. He raced in the Lamborghini the last couple of seasons, so he knows the tire, he knows the format. But there is still an adaptation to jump into this car, especially mid-season.
Yeah, there is. I mean, Porsches are always a little bit different to other brands, just getting your head wrapped around it. But he has the experience. I just think that they just missed a little bit on the setup. They just seem to be struggling to get that pace out of the new car in comparison to the old one. But when you look at other Porsches out there, the 53 squad, that was a nice run for them with Seth Lucas there sitting in P6.
That's how the field will line up for race 1 of the weekend. That race coming your way 3 o'clock local time. This is a big development. We hear a fire at the back of the Adam Adelson Elliott Skier car. Not sure what the cause of that may be. Hopefully it's nothing major, and it does not prevent them from going out to qualify.
Yeah, this car came to a halt yesterday in free practice too. Had to go on the flatbed to get it back to the paddock area. So, I'm sure if there's any grass or anything that could have got. They're inside.
We'll send DJ down to the Right Motorsports pit lane to see if he can divine exactly what has gone amiss for the 120. Hopefully he can get that fixed quickly, though. There is not much time already, 90 seconds into this qualifying session.
Yeah, and that's significant as they are the championship leaders, of course, in the Pro-Am division, and it's a narrow, slender 4 points now after the 0-4 with Colin Brown and George Kurtz sweeping the weekend at VIR, so they can't afford any hiccups here.
There is Colin Brown thundering down towards turn 5. Heavy brake zone down the hill. Great passing opportunity, but certainly a challenging one with the way that the road bends. There are some undulations even in this new tarmac. And that downhill aspect of it too makes it pretty difficult to get the brake pressure just right.
It's a big challenge, but what I love about Road America with these long straightaways and heavy brake zones, it creates plenty of overtaking opportunities. So we should see some great racing action here as we see Jan Halen beginning his first flyer here, see if he can step it up a little bit. So I think everyone anticipated Madison Snow joining this 45 squad. They'd be right at the sharp end, and that first quali run did not go well for them.
All the stars are out now, as it is the pros in the Pro-Am lineups like the Jan Halens of the world, the Mario Farnbachers of the world, Stephen McAleer, Neil Verhagen, Corey Lewis, Adam Carroll. The names, well, you should know them if you follow GT racing globally. Some of the very top GT drivers here racing in this championship. We're on board with one of them, the Belgian now living in Florida, Jan Halen.
Turn 5, climb the hill. Tricky brake zone here. You've got to have really sort of fast feet here. There's a real small sweet spot to get the car turned in. You don't want to overslow, but you don't want to rush the car. The corner entry there as you crest the hill. You see that everyone's using a lot more exit curb there in turn 7 over previous years with this resurface. I think they've just made that transition between the racetrack and the curbing a little bit smoother than before.
Now the carousel, a real test of patience. You want to get back to the power, but you got to wait for just the right moment.
Yeah, and as Manny Franco alluded to, you got to keep the car online. If you get outside that with the left front, it just goes off on its own ride. Same thing here in the kink. Never feels comfortable through there. As big commitment.
Unless you have driven this track or you have stood there on a track walk or something like that, you don't realize just how narrow that kink is. And it's very close to flat. Daniel Morad told me yesterday, in the right conditions, he thinks he can take it flat in a GT3 car. But it takes a lot of working yourself up to convince yourself when you approach that thing for the first couple of times.
Well, the problem is if you commit to it and then you give it a little lift right in the middle of the corner, that's what unsettles the car. So you're better if you're not quite there is to control the speed on before you get there and then, you know, keep it flat all the way through the corner rather than adjusting mid-corner. But you got those marks on the outside wall reminding you if you get it wrong. There's a few people hit the fence here over the last few weeks.
Mario Farnbacher, the early pace setter for Racer's Edge, 2:03.6. Already the time's pretty impressive. Trenton Estep also in the 2:03s right out of the box. Here's a look at Bill Auberlin. Oh, and he goes off in the kink, backs it into the fence, and is able to drive away.
Wow. How did he pull that one off? I'm not sure there's that much damage to the car. The rear wing still seems to be in places like that was above where the impact was. But that's how snappy it is through there. There is a little bit of damage to some tie rubs. Take another look at it. Turns in, just gets a little bit wide. You could see the left side of the car was just outside the racing line, and that's the difference. You just got zero grip at that point. Been talking about it all weekend long. Bill Auberlin, one of the most experienced drivers in our field, gets caught out.
He's got to have as many laps here as just about anyone, as Colin Brown just laid down the gauntlet, a 2:02.6. That goes to provisional pole.
Yeah, I got a feeling we might be knocking on the doors of some 201s. I think he ran a 2:02.5 in free practice 1 here yesterday. See if they can keep digging here, but he certainly laid down the gauntlet and a marker there. Balzan moves up to P2 in the Conquest Racing Ferrari.
But nearly 7/10 off of what Brown just did. Here's Adam Carroll, veteran driver. Partial schedule for this S's Racing team. We didn't see them at
Look
VIR.
at the sparking on the front.
About to
Little
say
rub
the same
blocks on the
thing.
front end there, really loaded up through there. Great visual.
Car did not look totally settled for Adam. The Irishman really working
he's
hard.
struggling there.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got a flat tire when the car is down a little bit, as we see that Morad.
It is Daniel Morad. And
This
he's
just
gone for a
showcases
spin.
how tricky this track is. When you're pushing and just get a little bit wrong, nothing's going to catch you. There's no help.
It's out of 5. Doesn't look like he dropped a wheel. I see some tire marks. Maybe just got on the power too hard and had it swap ends. Daniel told me in the test day on Thursday, just on an outlap, he got a little bit offline, cold tires, and it went around on him. He said it was the strangest thing that's ever happened to him in racing.
Take a look. Well, he was pretty committed to the power, wasn't he?
Yes.
Just didn't hook up for him, so could be just the TC adjustment there wasn't as strong as he was anticipating. Got the electronic aids that can help you when you go to full power on a tight corner like that one. Second gear.
This was the pace-setting car just moments ago in qualifying 1 for race 1 in the hands of Manny Franco. Alessandro Balzan currently P3, tracking to have a personal best lap, a few tenths off of Colin Brown though, and he did catch some traffic. Valentin Haseclone just in front of him. In the TRG Aston Martin, up the hill they come. Let's check the time for Alessandro Balzan. He was P3, he's now P2, just ran a 2:03 flat.
Yeah, this Aston Martin we're looking at, they had some braking issues. Derek De Boer went for quite a ride here in testing on Thursday. They had to skip yesterday morning's practice session waiting for some fresh parts to arrive. So they're on the back foot a little bit with the setup there, but VHC is loving life here on his first visit to Road America.
Here is Trenton Estep, 6th quickest thus far. Personal best in each of the first 2 sectors, but some 9.5 tenths off of Colin Brown through sector 2 at least. What does sector 3 look like for Trenton Estep? Up the hill he comes, crossing start finish, jumping to P6.
You see the climb there up this front stretch, 171 feet of elevation change here. That is amongst the most you're going to see here in North American circuits here that we visit. So it's quite the challenge. Downhill for a lot of these brake zones, big climbs on the straightaways. Sellers in P4. DXDT looks like they've shown up with some speed here this weekend.
Yeah, sister car driven by Corey Lewis just went to P5 and 4th in the Pro-Am class. Not a surprise to see the Pro-Am cars mixing it up with the pros here in Q2. And it's pro up against pro across these lineups.
Brown is just sort of like slowed down. I'm not sure if he's just getting communication from his team in terms of whether he has to dig any deeper and use those tires up a little bit more before race time, but you need to keep circulating just in case someone springs a surprise on you late in the going and you can respond.
Sellers had a great first sector, but gave up nearly 9 tenths of a second there in sector 2. And that cost him, unfortunately, a chance to put in a good time there. Still sitting 4th quick. There is Jan Halen.
Down in 12.
Yeah.
Just haven't been able to unlock the magic with this new car with Wright Motorsports. It doesn't have the straightaway speed. Some of that is BOP related in terms of the power that you're allowed. Some of it may be the drag with the new cars. More downforce than the older generation, but obviously along these long straightaways here, and there's 3 big ones up to turn 1, down to turn 5, and down to turn 12. These cars are almost at about 165 to 170 miles per hour there.
Should mention, we still have not seen the team car of Elliott Skier get out on track. They had that fire in the pits in between Q1 and Q2, so only 16 cars have turned laps. Race Vision powered by AWS. You're talking about the speeds around this place. An average speed around this 4-mile track, upwards of 117 miles an hour. And that's with some slow corners in this place.
It really is, and it's just magic, though. This is a flyer, personal best first sector, fastest overall middle. Colin Brown trying to move that marker a little bit further away from the competition. He's on pole right now by 4/10 almost. This could be even better.
This lap 2/10 quicker than his previous best, which is already the best that's been run in this session by over 3/10 of a second. Colin Brown, Race Vision powered by AWS, the fastest through Sector 2. Here comes the Texan up the hill for the CrowdStrike by Riley team. Looking to up the ante. He's done a 2:02.6. How about a 2:01.9? That is pole by over 1 second.
What execution, goes out, lays down a banker lap, and then just absolutely magic lap there. I had a feeling that someone might just creep into the 2:01 range, and he made it happen.
Alessandro Balzan, can he improve? Currently sitting second fastest. It is his personal best, but he just got bumped down to third. How about Adam Christodoulou in his Road America debut? He goes 2:02.7 and jumps to P2 overall.
And Morad pips him.
Morad, yes, 2:02.4, recovering from the earlier spin.
Well, this will get Colin Brown's attention. Yes, he's got the pole by half a second still, but this session is getting quicker and quicker, and there's still enough time, a lap or 2 laps for some of these drivers to make something happen.
Estive down in P9 overall, towards the bottom of the pro class for MDK Motorsports. What can he do? 2:03.6. It is a personal best, but it is not good enough to improve his starting position. Time for still one more lap. Look here at the wounded car of Bill Oberlin. He got away with one in the kink, and that is not something you say often.
No, to lose it there, and he's still P6 on the charts right now and digging deeper still.
Adam Carroll giving way and letting the veteran Bill Oberlin through, clapping bodywork at the right rear of that car after backing it into the outside wall after a half spin in the kink, but Bill drove away from it, put his foot down, and he's still pushing hard with just over 90 seconds left in the session.
That is the escape of all escapes there. Incredible.
Still P6 after that lap. Just ran a 2:03.8, had previously run a 2:03.3. Time for one more flyer, though, if Bill would like to push. Here is Morad. What can he do?
Personal best in the middle sector, but he had a little bobble there. Had to control his speed through Canada corner. That's going to compromise this final sector, unfortunately for him, but he's still got time on the board to get back to the line and do one more flyer. Needs to clean up this exit here. This really starts the lap, your exit speed here, and he's bailed. I think he just feels that the tires are maybe peaked a little bit. Didn't have the grip in turn 12 there that he needed to improve that lap.
He does have the fastest third sector of anybody in this qualifying session. Still is half a second off of Colin Brown's pole pace. And the Pro-Am top 3 are top 3 overall. Brown, Morad, Christodoulou before you get to the first pro class car of Alessandro Balzan.
Verhagen, he's way down in 15th spot right now. Set his fastest lap on the first lap of this session, so not sure what's been going on with the rest of the session.
Did just turn in his personal best middle sector for ST Racing.
This is his last lap. His time is now running out there. Checkers will be out. Complete this lap, but will count. See if he can improve.
Connecticut native, part of the BMW Junior team for many years, promoted to full factory status, and plugged in last time out at VIR, and does find some speed here for ST Racing. Jumps up to 7th quick.
Just a sniff behind this man, Bill Oberlin. Just laid down his best middle sector. Let's see if he can finish off the lap and improve any. He doesn't need to find much to move up a slot.
Here comes Oberlin. taking the checkered flag, and he does jump to 5th, putting Sellers down to 6th, although Sellers has yet to take the checkered flag. Adam Carroll crosses the timing line for the final time. He's down in 11th.
Needed to find a 10th, and he did it, so that's an impressive rebound for Bill Oberlin after that crazy moment in the King to come back and qualify top 5.
Sellers calls time on his run. Heads to the pits. He'll do no better than 6th. How about VHC? What can Valentin Haseclo do here for the TRG squad? The lone Aston in the field jumps up to 11th around Adam Carroll with a 2:03.8. Best lap was his final lap.
Yeah, I think they were expecting more. Derek DeBoer loves this circuit. Had a lot of success here over the years, particularly back in 2015. Had a phenomenal run here with Kevin Buckler's group. But as I said, they lost that session yesterday, waiting for some new brake parts to arrive at the circuit. And with the level of competition in this championship now, it's tough to miss track time and be at the sharp end come quali.
And they've been behind the 8 ball ever since. And it looks like this will be the car that will lead the field to green tomorrow for race 2 of the weekend. Colin Brown, the only driver to go sub 2:02 in this qualifying session, a 2:01.9, half a second clear of the rest of the field. The Roval Pole Award to Colin Brown, George Kurtz, and CrowdStrike by Riley. Daniel Morad recovering from a spin in the middle part of that qualifying session to jump to P2 late in the going, ahead of Road America debutant Adam Christodoulou. Balzan on the pole for the Pro class, down in 4th overall. Next closest in his class is Oberlin and Hull from Bimmer World. They will start 5th. DXDT's Brian Sellers 6th. Verhagen got to 7th there late. Lewis Farnbacher down in 9th and Estep in 10th. There are some surprises. Jan Halen all the way down in 15th. Bleekemolen in 16th. Names you expect to feature more prominently.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a fun race to see some of those fast drivers trying to make their way through. Mario Farnbacher laid down that flyer on the opening lap. I'm not sure if they just bailed and elected to save tires, but nonetheless, surprised to see that group who won here last year, as you said, deep in the pack.
Look back on the highlights from what was a relatively clean qualifying session. A couple of them, in fact. Manny Franco stormed to the pole in qualifying 1. He will start on pole later on today. This Conquest Racing Ferrari looked sharp all throughout. George Kurtz, though, put in a solid effort to get up towards the front in his qualifying run.
Yeah, front row start for him, and this is the moment we're going to be talking about. It's a little bit wide. Look how close. There was a little bump with the rear bodywork. Didn't get into the rear wing, fortunately, for Bill Oberlin. He continued and rebounded for a top 5 quali run.
Safer barrier installed there in the kink, doing its job, too, to limit the damage. Daniel Morad put in a solid effort in Q2. He was the closest to Colin Brown, but still came up a half a second shy of the Texan. But the Canadian will have a front row starting spot for race 2 tomorrow. That concludes qualifying for our pair of Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS races, here from America's National Park of Speed, Road America. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.